Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50 with Dallas and Michael. Dallas, we're back in the podcasting booth after a very, very busy end of financial year with our clients. So what we do with our clients at the end of financial year, we meet with all of them leading up to the 30th of June just to make sure that we haven't missed anything, that nothing's changed in their scenario. They've taken advantage of all the things that they can take advantage of from a tax and other government benefits point of view before the end of financial year closes off on the 30th of June.
So it's a busy couple of months.
Very busy. We pre-record podcasts in April, and the ones that are released in May and June because we're so busy during those periods of time.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get back in the booth. We've been just doing technical financial planning work for 2 months. I just want to talk about concepts and theories and come up with bizarre titles that you'll shake your head at. That's what I'm looking forward to, mate.
Well, your wish is granted, and here we are. We're back, and here today we're here to talk about the similarities between a good financial advisor and a good cornerman in boxing. Now, what does a cornerman in boxing do?
Thanks, Michael. I knew I wanted to start with one of these because I thought already you're going to be shaking your head going, what are you talking about, mate? How does a nerdy financial advisor and a cornerman in boxing have anything to do with each other? So when you watch boxing or mixed martial arts or any other combat sports, the fighter will have someone in their corner. And that's a common phrase that people talk about, having someone in your corner. And what they basically have, their coach who's sitting there in the corner, giving advice, giving them a pep talk when they need it, calming them down when they need it, telling them things to watch out for from the other fighter, telling them how they're going on the scorecards and whether they need to push the pace a bit more. So there's a lot involved in having a good cornerman in combat sports. And so you've had a boxing match yourself, so you know how important it is to have the right person in your corner. And so I was watching UFC the other day actually, and got me thinking about how important it is to have that good corner man. And of course, as everything in life does, it reminded me of our work and what we do with people, and got me thinking about. So there's basically 4 main reasons that I could think of that having a good financial advisor is like having the best possible person in your corner in a fight.
And to be fair, we're not being sexist here. The corner man could be a woman.
I've been the corner man,
but you're still a corner man.
Before. I've been the corner man for a woman. I've had a woman be a corner man for me. So.
But you're still called a corner man.
Yes. Yep. It's exactly right. So you're very you're very woke, Michael. You're very with it, aren't you?
I was just thinking sometimes the best men are women.
That's
so the best corner man it could be a woman. So it just doesn't sound right saying a corner
woman. Yeah, exactly right. So the first one that I thought of is that a good corner man knows their fighter's skills. So knows what their fighter is good at and what their strong points are and knows their weaknesses. So from a technical fighting point of view. So again in the sport that I competed a bit more in, mixed martial arts, this would be more around saying, okay, well, you know your fighter, you know whether they're predominantly good at kickboxing or you know whether they're predominantly good at wrestling and grappling and that kind of thing. So that's sort of the first one. It's just a knowledge of technical skills. And I think that people underestimate in our industry what their strengths and what their skills really are from a financial planning perspective. I've had people come in and see at 50 or 55 and they're earning a huge amount of money and they'll go, I haven't got much money in super. And you kind of go, forget about that. Like that's fine. We've got this. Your ability to earn income is a really valuable, really powerful thing. Let's harness that. Let's use that. Let's not get bogged down a perceived weakness or in something that you're really worried about. What can we do with harnessing your strength and your skills? And the same thing applies with people that might not earn a huge income but are really good savers and have consistently saved over time, and they've already built up some fairly healthy retirement savings. And those people will often go, oh, I don't know what we can do. We don't earn much money. We don't have a big income. And it's the same thing. Drawing people's attentions to their skills or their strength is, I think, really valuable, both from technically getting them to take advantage of that, but also just to get people motivated to see that there is a big difference that they can make in their financial life. So that's number one. And number two, I guess, ties into that, which is knowing your fighter's psychology. And so this is the sort of thing in a fight. Most people run a bit hot or they run a bit cold. So some people need to be really amped up and told to, get out there and beat this guy up or beat this girl up, as the case may be, if you're a girl. And other people need to just be told to relax, calm down, breathe deeply, don't get too excited, don't get too carried away. The same thing I think applies with people with financial planning. We've said this before. Some people need to be loose and some people need to be tight. And some people come in and every 6 months, I feel like I'm saying to them, just relax. It's all okay. You've got it covered. Don't stress. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Just take it easy. Take it easy. And then there's other people where every 6 months I'm saying to them, you should be stressing more. You should be worrying more about this. You're not doing everything you need to do. Get off your behind, go and make things happen. So those, I guess, tie in together. Is that, we would have seen a lot of this in the last few months for ourselves. Of our clients all have different strengths in their financial planning, and they have different perceptions or attitudes towards money, and getting those working together is a big start.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last comment that you made, some people have to be dialed back a little bit, because you can see, whilst it's good to be able to seemingly throw every little bit of disposable income that you have towards, accumulating your retirement savings, you know that they're not leaving enough left over in order to enjoy life a little bit now. And statistically, what that leads to is people at some stage becoming frustrated and stressed and throwing their hands up in the air and living a little bit too lean, living a little bit too leanly. And like you say, that the issue with that often is that you live too lean for an extended period of time, and not only are you not enjoying yourself potentially as much as you could, but you can't sustainably do that for the course of your working life. People tend to, and we've talked about this before, if you try and live too lean for too long, you'll have a blowout, and you won't just spend a bit more at that time. You'll basically spend a bit more plus all of the extra money that you've saved for the last couple of years while you're building up to that. I mean, you've seen that before with different mates, where it's like you often see that with a fighter in their first boxing match. They'll come out and throw 6,000 punches in the first 90 seconds, and then you can see the look on their face where they go, "Oh no, I've got 4 more rounds to go, or I've got 3 rounds to go." And that's exactly that's a perfect analogy there. I think of people come to us and they're really excited and really motivated to get started, and they'll often make comments like, I can do more, I can save more, and we're the ones that have to dial them back and say, look, this is just, we've got to be able to do this for 5 years or 10 years or however long we've agreed that you're going to work for. We can't come out and throw 6,000 punches in the first 90 seconds and then say to the referee, we just need a bit of a break now. It's no, this has got to go on for the whole time. So. Yeah, and one of the best things, and we never speak about this, but one of the best things for anyone's financial plan is happiness in the now. And relaxation in the now, and lack of anxiety in the now. And what I mean by that is that it's time that makes a huge difference. So if you can put in $500 a fortnight into your superannuation, and that sustains you, and you're happy in your job, and you're happy in your life, and it gives you enough. There's not the stresses there that cause you to feel that anxiety or that things are a little bit tight. If you can carry that on for for 10 years, that's more powerful, a lot more powerful than being able to do $1,000 a fortnight, but feeling stressed and anxious and running out of puff, effectively 5 years into that window, and throwing your hands up in the air and saying, "What's the point of it all?" The former strategy is a lot more powerful because of the time, the compounding time over 10 years. Half as much going in over 10 years is better than
twice as much
going in over 5 years. So
that's exactly right.
So it's not to say that each individual wouldn't be able to sustain that. It's just that in our knowledge of seeing case after case after case after case, we know that these are the commonalities that occur for people.
This is what I mean. It's not as easy as us saying that on a podcast to thousands of people that, hey, you should put less into super than more, because as we say, the whole point here is you need to know your fighter psychology. There are some people that, and you'd have this with your clients, there are some people that I'm constantly dialing them back, and then there are others where I'm pushing and pushing because I know that they're not, they need to be motivated. They need to be pushed to do more than they think is possible, because what a lot of other people find is that they don't think things are feasible. So if someone who says, "Oh, maybe I can do 500," and I know that they can actually do $1,000 a fortnight sustainably and easily, and they're not going to even notice the difference. Sometimes jumping in there and pushing them to do more than they think is sustainable is the spot there.
Absolutely, So on the flip side of that, we see people and they make words to the effect of, "We just don't know where our money goes." And you know that we can find $1,000 a fortnight here, no worries at all. Like there's money getting, if someone makes the comment, "We just don't know where our money goes." And look, there's a really high correlation for people on high incomes to say that. People that are on low incomes hardly ever say that.
No, that's right.
People that are on high incomes say, "We don't know where our money goes." You know that you can find at least $1,000 a fortnight somewhere there, and they don't miss it at all.
That's I think I'm going to direct my mother to this podcast, because my parents are probably my biggest fans, obviously, and my biggest referrers. They're always telling people, "Go and see Dallas," and my mother has told so many people now, "You go and see Dallas, he just tells you to go on overseas holidays all you want. It's fantastic." And I've had to explain to her, "Mum, that's because you need to be pushed to go and enjoy your retirement, go and spend money and don't stress about it. Other people need to be kicked in the bum and told to, no, you can't afford to do that. Switch on. You got this many years."
Hey, why isn't your mother listening to the podcast? In every podcast that I've ever or would have heard about someone starting a podcast or someone starting a blog, they say that their mother is they had one reader of the blog or one listener of the podcast when they started, and it was their mother.
I've started out without even that advantage.
I listened to a podcast. Carl Richards was speaking, and he's got hundreds of thousands of followers now. He's in he's in financial planning, and he said, "I had two listeners when he first started his podcast." He said, "My mum and my sister," and then I found out just last year. He goes, he started this 10 years ago. I found out just last year that my sister was lying.
I feel like
this
is a good one there. We could set a trap here, because my mother probably has told me before she listens to the podcast, but I know she doesn't. So, Mum, if you're listening to this, the code word is 43 orange or something like that. No, so so that's, I guess, the point is everyone's situation is different, and everyone's skills and strengths are different. Everyone's psychology is different, and so everyone needs a different push in a different direction, needs to be guided in a different way, and that's the job of a good financial advisor. Is there is no one size fits all. So that's I'd say the first two similarities there. So the third similarity between a good financial advisor and a good cornerman in boxing is to know the opposition. And in this case, I'm talking about the big bad ATO. That, as you said before, Michael, we always want to have a common enemy with our clients, and that's what it is, the ATO. So that's where, I think a good cornerman, a good coach in boxing or mixed martial arts or anything like that, they're very quick to pick up what the other side is doing, and very quick to spot weaknesses or to spot opportunities that have been presented by the way that the other person is performing or is fighting. And so for us, that's the ATO. As we've said before, one of our favourite nights of the year is budget night. I know that you get a cheese platter and a bottle of rosé and sit there and watch the budget in detail, and that's because what we're looking for is the immediate. Immediately, we're starting to think then about this is now going to be tax law. This is going to be legislation. These are going to be the rules around superannuation and contributions. Now, how does that impact my clients? How does that impact us? And so that's, I think, the thing there where it's probably interesting because most people would sort of think of the opposition or knowing the external world as being focused on investing or the economy or going, okay, well, I know what share prices are going to do or something like that, where our attitude is the most important opposition that we can really be tracking and knowing inside out is those tax rules and those superannuation rules.
Absolutely. I mean, what we see there is a guaranteed rate of return. So we for someone on a 39% marginal rate of tax, their guaranteed rate of return, if they're not maximising all the contributions they can make into superannuation, their guaranteed overnight rate of return is 24%.
Because they can make contributions into super and pay 15% tax. So they pay 15 instead of 39.
Yep.
There's 24%
overnight rate of return. So, I mean, we don't even if we could pick the best investments for 1 year,
you can't.
We'd be unlikely to get a 24% rate of return, and it wouldn't be guaranteed. So, it's not to say that we of course, we're looking for good investment returns as well for the for an appropriate strategy for that client. But there's guaranteed rates of return. The opponent, like you frame that the opponent that you're facing is the ATO. The other thing that we aim for all of our clients is that by the day that they've retired, they've paid their last dollar of tax that they're ever going to pay ever again. So to put the ATO up as the opponent, and it's not to say that we hate the ATO. We certainly don't. You finish the fight and you go and have a beer with the ATO.
That might be going short. You shake your hands and you do like a little grimace smile and go, okay, yeah, good fight, mate. And then you move on.
But it really frames tax is such a big thing. It frames everything that we do. We even refer to that as it's our religion. In when we walk through the door at work, our religion is how do we pay the least amount of tax for our clients and ourselves, and what can we think tank up in order to legally pay the least amount of tax possible.
And that's I guess the thing. It is like a fight, and it's like coaching in a fight, because you're not going to say if you're the corner, you're not saying here's a knife, go and stab them. You go, no, hang on, the rules are the rules. We've got to operate within the rules. We're trying to win this fight legally and morally in a correct and upstanding way. As you say, that's that sort of that magical end goal that we're always looking for, is a retirement where you pay no tax, because you're not doing that by hiding money offshore. You're using those tax rules for yourself most of the time. And we've talked about this before. These rules are designed to funnel people towards trying to boost their retirement savings, so that basically what the government is, I think the theory there is that you'll pick up tax savings, but then we won't have to pay you Centrelink in future. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. Is the rules are, people are being pushed towards being self-funded retirees. Every dollar of tax that you pay is another dollar that you don't have in retirement to spend. That's not good for anyone. We want everyone to be a self-funded retiree where possible. And one of the biggest ways that we can work around that is using those rules, using those tax laws for your advantage, and keeping more of your money for yourself in retirement. So the last reason I would say that the similarity between a good financial advisor and a good cornerman is that you've got to care the right amount. And what I mean by this is that you've got to want your fighter to achieve all of the things they want to achieve. You've got to want them to win, but you've got to at the same time care deeply about their safety and not want to put them through too much unnecessary pain. But you've also got to be willing to put people through a little bit of pain where needed to get them the end result that they need. So the analogy that I'd use here is that, as a rule of thumb, historically they've found a lot of the time, a father is not a good cornerman because he knows that his son wants the glory of winning a world title, and they'll sometimes push their son past a level that is safe and that is sustainable. So a father sometimes wants to push their son too much, and sometimes, and you notice that you'd never hear about a mother being a world title holder's cornerman because if they're anything like my mother, they'd be watching the fight with their hands over their eyes going, oh, geez, I can't, someone's going to hurt my poor little boy. I can't have
one
this.
hand over the eyes, the white towel.
Poised, ready to throw in.
Poised, ready to throw.
I'd actually
in the other hand.
be more worried about my mother coming in through the ropes and trying to clean up the other person. So what you need is normally that the perfect dynamic there is a cornerman who cares about that person. You spend a lot of time together in the gym. You've worked together. You train together. You know each other really well. You know that your cornerman cares about you and doesn't want to cause you any unnecessary pain. But because they're not the one getting kicked or punched or beat up, they are able to be objective and step back and go, well, okay, yes, you're copping a few blows here, but you're going to win. You just need to do this thing. You might need to wear a couple of punches to get where you need to be, but you're on track. Everything's all good. And so that's kind of the similarity that I'd say there for us is that it's, and even, I mean, that's how we've structured our fee model is that we want to be aligned with our clients. We want to be incentivized to get them where they need to be over the long term. And so when we're talking about how much are you going to save every fortnight or how much volatility can you stomach based on how your superannuation is invested, we need to care the right amount. We can't say, the minute that you feel a bit of discomfort putting $1,000 a fortnight into super, oh, don't worry about that. It's okay. You don't need to do that. Or the minute the market drops by 5%, say, oh, no, don't worry about that. You can just have it all sitting in cash. We need to be objective enough to go, no, this is the right thing for you long term. This is what you need to do. It might be a bit uncomfortable in the short term, but you need to just go through this.
Yeah.
And our clients, as long as they know that we care about them and that our incentives are aligned over the long term, they're going to take that on board a lot more.
Yeah, look, it's a great point, and I think what really helps with that is a diligent process of going through with their clients what their goals are, and goals. It's a bit of a funny word, of course.
Yeah.
What it all comes back to is the day that they retire. How much money are they going to need generated from their retirement savings for that year and every other year that they're likely to be on this earth. Now, when people try and change the plan because they've copped a flurry of punches, aka the market's fallen by 37%, which it did in March of 2020, we remind them at that point in time, okay, has your overall objective or your goal of retiring on this date with this amount of money, and for that amount of money to be able to generate $80,000 a year net of tax for the rest of your life. No, it hasn't. It hasn't changed. Okay, well, the plan doesn't change. We need to actually push through this part. Yeah, we need to push through this part right now.
That's right.
So it's one of the things that helps frame that, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And keeps everyone on the same page.
And the same thing, I think, like we were saying there, those are the two things that spring to mind is that volatility of knowing that when markets go down, knowing why you hold the assets that you hold, knowing what the long-term objective is really the only way to stay invested and stay the course. And the same thing applies with saving money every fortnight. If someone walks in the door and I just say to them, hey, you need to save $1,000 a fortnight, there's no way they're going to go and do that because it's not in service to a bigger goal. It's not, there's no meaning behind it. They just be thinking, well, why don't I just have that money and spend it? What's the point of that? Whereas when you're working backwards from this is where we've all agreed that you actually do really want to end up in 10 years' time. Now, to make that happen, you need to be invested in this way and you need to be saving $1,000 a fortnight. Now, when things get a little bit uncomfortable, if you want to change how you're invested, or you want to change how much you're saving every fortnight, we can revisit those goals and say, okay, well, has things changed? Do you not actually want to be there anymore? But if those goals haven't changed, well, we've just got to go through that. It's a similar, again, the analogy of, if you everyone's got the old Mike Tyson quote, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. If someone started a boxing match and the first time they get punched in the face went, geez, that hurt. I don't want to play this game anymore.
That's what happened to me.
When you were hitting pads and shadow boxing, you thought this is great fun, and then the minute you get punched in the face, you go, this is not what I'm about.
I've been tackled and made probably, I don't know, thousands of tackles in rugby league in my life and rugby union, and been tackled so many times. The first time I got punched in the face, I went, this is terrible.
It's so funny. It's funny because I think it's a bit like the when people watch, fighters. It'd be probably the same with rugby league, where they think there must be something different about those guys where they're not getting hurt. And so you go to the gym and you watch two guys beating each other up, and they go, they must just be. It mustn't be hurt. There must be some trick that it doesn't hurt. And the trick is that they just don't care. It still hurts. It's still really unpleasant getting punched in the eye, or getting kicked or getting tackled. Yeah. It's just that, again, if you know your why, if you know the bigger reason of what you're trying to achieve here, then you're more willing to go through that bit of discomfort. And that's, I think, where good coach, a good cornerman comes into it, is to keep you focused on that long-term view, keep you focused on why you're doing what you're doing, so that you can block out a little bit of that short-term discomfort.
That was good. Can you wrap up the 4 things again? So
the 4 things were to know your fighter's skills, or to know, as a financial advisor, to know your client's skills and strengths, know what what the opportunities are that are available to them, know their psychology. So know whether they need to be loosened or tightened, whether they need to be calmed down a bit, or whether they need to be pushed along a bit. Know the opposition, i.e. the ATO, know all of the rules, all the different little opportunities that present themselves to each client depending on their situation. And lastly, care the right amount. So knowing what people want long term, having arrived at that in a consultative discussion with them, and deciding we've all agreed that this is where you want to head to. We need to care the right amount about how to get there, not put you through unnecessary pain, but be able to push it through a bit of short-term discomfort to get to that greater goal.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.